The Dark Ages of Animation. I got something in my throat. Alright, I'm good. Yes, the Dark Ages of Animation, lasting from the mid-50s to the late 80s. This age of animation had a great influence on TV animation, even to this day. Somehow, with the reduced animation. So what were the secrets that made this era what it was? Well, let's get to it. Alright, no more spooky voice. So what were these terrifying Dark Ages anyway? Well, it was a period of time from the mid-1950s to the late 1980s when animation in the US experienced a severe dip in quality. This was caused by many factors, to say the least, like people deciding that they'd rather watch cartoons on their TVs instead of on the big screen, which I can definitely relate to. Movie snacks are really expensive, but this big cultural shift had the adverse effects of a more reduced and limited style of animation, dominating this era. So, what is limited animation exactly? Screen transition! Limited animation is a type of animation with a more reduced style, prioritizing dialogue over visuals. This style used to be a stylistic choice to fight against Disneyification, but it quickly became adopted for its cheapness and easy production. This was useful for rushing out cartoons for TV, making them very limited and low quality as a result, which was also a factor leading to the Dark Ages. Now, this takes us on to some dominant characteristics of the era. As I said, these cartoons became more about dialogue and visuals, which led to choppier character motions. This dreaded limited animation was everywhere during this era. Not to mention, the cartoons themselves tended to be a bit inoffensive and bland to avoid angering parents groups. Some notable examples of cartoons of the era are, of course, Scooby-Doo, which is a big one, Yogi Bear, Huckleberry Hound, and Johnny Quest. Johnny Quest! But hey, it wasn't all bad. This era had plenty of positives to it, and it had a massive influence on the future of TV animation. High-quality writing and clever humor could make up for the low-quality animation, as was evident in many cartoons of the era, like Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Where do you suppose we are, Rock?
We're right in the middle of nowhere, Bullwinkle.
Oh, I'm glad. I thought for a minute we were lost.
This type of subversive and tongue-in-cheek writing made it popular with kids and teenagers alike, a trait shared with many cartoons that came after. These cartoons also pushed the TV animation industry forward, opening the door for future shows with clever writing and high-quality animation after the era ended, like Amphibia or Cricket of the Creek. And although protests from parents groups held back more action-oriented shows at the time, shows from later eras would fill that gap after the era ended. Now on to some of the people who made this era what it was, the pioneers! William Hanna and Joseph Barbera. Founding their company, Hanna-Barbera, in 1957, the two men were known for developing a technique of limited animation which allowed them to produce cartoons more cheaply, stressing character and witty dialogue instead. These guys had a massive influence on the animation industry, doing such things as aiding in the creation of Tom and Jerry, not to mention their studio and backlog of cartoons later paved the way for Cartoon Network. Fun fact, Cartoon Network Studios Europe, the studio that made Gumball, was recently rebranded to Hanna-Barbera Studios Europe. Jay Ward. This lovely man with awful taste in fashion was instrumental in producing animated series based on various characters like Rocky and Bullwinkle, George of the Jungle, and Peabody and Sherman, characters that would return over and over in various movie and show adaptations, a true hero of his age. Now on to my personal opinion of the Dark Age. I think the transition to animation being seen as kids' media started here, for better or worse. This animation age ghetto has caused the general public to look down on animation as something only for kids, which has caused irreparable damage to the modern perception of cartoons, and people feeling like they need to grow out of them, which is sad since animation has progressed significantly since the 2010s, making massive strides in writing and animation, and because of the Dark Ages, not enough people are paying attention to this great progress. I still don't hold this against the cartoons of this era. They made huge strides for the television animation industry in their time, and speaking personally, I quite like the Hanna-Barbera cartoons. I watch them on Tooncast all the time. But it still means we have much work to do to push this industry forward. And that's it. Thank you all for coming! I'm bad at conclusions. Bye!